Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Anchor Watch, where I'm joined by executive producer extraordinaire Sam. We have a very special guest, hopefully, that will be able to come over after he's done with the vote on the House floor, and that's Representative Jason Crow. Very strong veteran voice that we're very honored to have on the show. Sam, how are you doing?
Is that a trick question, Bobby? I don't know, man.
Wasn't meant to be, but I can see why
how
you
are,
may.
how are you doing? What a time.
Yeah, I'm seeing all of these different things that people are talking about worldwide, and we'll get to a little bit of it. But there's one overarching theme that I want people to be completely aware of as we get into this, and that is all this comes down to a lack of accountability, whether you're talking about leadership domestically, internationally, people's actions. There are different rules for different people. And that is why society, at least in America, feels as though it's ripping itself apart. Okay.
I want to back up just a sec because you said all this. And I think what you mean, Bobby, literally is all of this, because we could be talking about Epstein, we could be talking about Russia, Iran, Venezuela, the Gilded Ballroom, the crypto scams, which I'm going to be talking about with somebody today. All of it comes down to a lack of accountability. Okay, go ahead.
No, well, so let's go around along that path. You have people who are not just living their best life; they are living by ways and means the world has never seen before. When it comes to accumulated wealth, for example, never before seen this type of wealth in modern history. Now, granted, you'll have arguments from historians about ancient history. That's fine. But since the world recognizes that it's connected, we have not seen anything like this. We have never seen a president of the United States profit so much in real time during their actual term in office as the current presidency. President Trump apparently, allegedly, according to the New York Times, at least $1.4 billion in a year, probably way more if you really get into it, while the cost of living has gone up exponentially. I happen to be able to go to Senator John Ossoff rally here in Atlanta this past weekend. And political rallies are one thing, but what's captivating, Sam, is hearing the stories. There was a young woman who was a single mom of 3 who talked about how she had a business and her business went away because of a 600% increase in her healthcare premiums. Couldn't afford it. And how she's telling her 3 teenage kids how they have to help out with bills and this, that, and the other, because things overwhelmingly have become unaffordable in the last year.
Yeah.
Mind you, the current power structure where you have the president of the United States of one party, the same party runs both chambers of the United States Congress, and the same party has more appointees to the Supreme Court than anybody else, are solely responsible for this well into a year.
Right.
Don't come to me about the Biden economy. Don't come to me about Biden foreign diplomacy. Don't come to me about internal business because of the Biden policy. We are completely in a Trump 2.0 administration. And the question that I would ask anybody is, are you better off now than you were a year ago? I keep coming back to this because, Sam, right now there's a connective tissue. I said accountability. Here's the connective fallout from all of that. You have a United States government that is posturing as it negotiates with Iran, a nuclear deal that was already signed, sealed, and delivered by the Obama administration. Okay. Right now you have a carrier strike group in the Arabian Gulf operating, trying to bring leverage to a deal that was already done. Meanwhile, the same administration has a secretary of Veteran Affairs that has cut 35,000 jobs from the VA. So the people that you're using to leverage to get whatever you want, when they get out, will have less than significant healthcare coverage. This is the connective tissue. Oh, and by the way, The amount of government jobs that have been cut disproportionately affects veterans, about 1 out of 3. But most importantly, the stability and the career expertise of that federal government shrinking is leading to diplomatic situations where now the United States military is needed to have a negotiating position. This is the cyclical thing that's happening, and that's just foreign, right? We're not talking about ICE agents and this, that, and the other. Did you notice, Sam, that the president named cities this past week as far as cities that they're worried about when it comes to voter fraud?
Yeah. Tell me what they were, Bobby.
So he said, Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta, after raiding Atlanta's Fulton County and their voter thing. Here's why. They see the numbers. They see every special election that's happening. They see Republicans retiring from the House of Representatives.
Yep.
They know a blue tsunami, not wave, tsunami could be coming. And the only way they can affect that from happening is to disrupt the actual voting process, meaning trying to take voter rolls and kicking people off of them and they don't know they're kicked off. But here's the other piece. This is what I believe they're going to try to do unless Congress blatantly stops them. With the whole nationalization of voting movement, they're going to use ICE agents to intimidate people at the polls.
Right.
Because the claims that they keep talking about all these illegals are voting, which is not true, they're going to use that and say, hey, well, we're going to deploy ICE to these certain democratically held, overwhelmingly minority districts to make sure the voting's on the up and up, hoping that people who have every legitimate right to vote won't show up because they don't want to be caught up in any type of ICE operations. You know, the whole show me your papers, Berlin 1935 mentality.
Right.
That's the thought process. And y'all mark my words. If Congress or state governments, to include governors, do not proactively stand up to this, that is the playbook. It's the only thing they can do.
It's true. And, look, numbers have just come out. We have our show Behind the Numbers with Rick and Andrew Wilson on Fridays. And all week we pass polling back and forth, and Trump's hit a new low. And particularly on jobs with independents, the swing has been 37 points. He is 30 points underwater.
In under a year.
With independents. And those are the people who we need, who you peel off to come to our side, right? Obviously, there's no winning the midterms fairly.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about.
The numbers won't add up. And it's ironic because he keeps talking about voter fraud. The only time he claimed voter fraud is when he lost. So here's the thing. When you take independence, like you mentioned, and that type of swing, which in a year, unprecedented in polling. Unprecedented. The other piece is I have personally talked to and communicated with friends of mine that I know were GOP and right leaning. And for some reason, the social media post that he put out on the Obamas and them being primates was a tipping point for a lot of them.
Wow.
Yeah, they're posting on Facebook for the first time. It's like, I've been neutral, I've been quiet, I've been this, I've been that. I'm like, interesting.
Also, it's interesting, but you and I've been seeing that stuff for years, right? But it whatever it takes, I don't care. Whatever it takes for them to see. But that's wild.
Well, I think it's primarily because people who have associated with him in the past do not want to have that type of label put to them. They can sit there and talk about money. They can even talk about immigration. But because of America's history, in particular, that type of labeling, categorizing, satire, whatever you want to call it historically, the dehumanization of other human beings will always be frowned upon. And they know that. And so you have a choice, especially if you're a public figure that is already posted about politics. Either you go with this or you don't.
Right.
And mind you, it's not just the media that's asking where do you stand? It is literally people in social media directly asking their representatives, like, hey, what the hell, man? So I think between all of this, right, and how internationally we're getting booed at the Olympics. Internationally, you have U.S. Olympians talking about basically how embarrassed they are to be American there. And here's the thing, I'm pretty sure they're getting cold shoulders from other athletes and other people who walk by them, watching the vice president and the second lady getting booed and NBC having to mute it, all of this. Is this what you signed up for, America? Inflation that really, job numbers, Amazon cutting people left and right. I mean, you name the company, they're letting the AI bubble continue to blow up, and people are getting laid off. And
Washington Post.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the newspaper that broke Watergate getting gutted, right? All of this is happening because at the end of the day, Project 2025, now 2026, wants to do a few things. Remove all power from normal people. They want to take away all guardrails that have been traditionally and historically along political lines to keep people in check. The fact that President Trump posted that meme, that video, and he is still in office, I'm old enough to remember that would have been career suicide.
Yeah. Suicide. Well, at least he didn't wear a brown suit, right?
Right. This is the standard that we have gone from, right?
Yeah.
When it came to Obama to this. And now we're talking about a president that has gone in and proactively removed another head of state who has unilaterally bombed other nations. I want to say 8 is the last count. He's now put troops on the ground, mind you, in Africa. No one's talking about it, right? The guy that promised to keep everybody out. The tariffs that are crippling companies and restricting small business. No one's holding him accountable for that. The vitriol that he shows to anybody that tries to build the Epstein files. Next level.
Yeah.
Next level. And speaking of that, the blatant defiance by the Department of Justice on what Congress passed as a law, as far as redaction and unredaction, is mind-blowing. I cannot believe they're that blatant. But now that Congress is seeing these things behind closed doors, unredacted. I don't know if you caught Lauren Boebert when she left. Was it late last night or the night before? And how after seeing stuff unredacted, not only did she think that Ghislaine Maxwell wanting a clemency deal is crazy, he says the woman should be locked up for a hell of a lot more longer time for what she just saw.
Yeah,
I'm watching. Yeah, I'm about to say I'm seeing Republican after Republican. Forget the Democrats. Republican after Republican saying, "Oh my God!" Now you got to ask yourself, why are they saying this? I would love to sit there and believe that it's because the morality of the individual politician is taken over. No, I think it's because they realize eventually these things are going to leak to the press. Okay. And everybody's going to know that Congress had access to them and they saw these files. And for them not to be outraged by it will be career suicide and even follow on earning suicide. No one's going to have them as a commentator. No, it will kill whatever prospects they have based on politics moving forward. So I believe that they are doing this on purpose.
I think that's an amazing theory. And, Representative Crow will be here shortly. So you'll get to talk to him more about that and about all the other stuff. But I want to ask you, he's actually in studio now. I wanted to sort of flag for you and just think about this. We can talk about it later after you talk to the congressman. What do we do? What do we do about this?
It's a good question. Sounds like a great question for a United States congressman too.
It does, doesn't it? I'm going to bring him in and I'm going to dip and looking forward to this conversation, Bobby.
Yep.
Bobby.
Hey, Congressman Crow. Thank you for taking time. I know you're actually working, so we appreciate it.
We're all working. We are all part of the resistance.
And I'm glad you used that word. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
The resistance. We are old enough to remember if things that President Trump had posted, say just in the last week, were posted, how we would view it, how it would be viewed, like in the Reagan administration, the Bush administration, either one of them. We're seeing something that's unprecedented, where members of Congress have been slow to check what he's saying. You are not part of that number. As a matter of fact, you have boldly stood up and said what needs to be said, and people have come after you. Why do you think your fellow members from across the aisle are still slow to check President Trump when it comes to historic norms and decency?
Well, number one, there's a lot of cowardice, which actually is always true in times of challenge and turmoil for societies, right? You look at history, you look at when societies go through enormous societal challenges, when they are tested in the way that we are being tested now. Every institution, every norm, every custom, the very fabric of our society is under duress and being tested right now. There are always cowards. There are always CEOs who bend the knee. There are always universities and law firms and people in elite and powerful positions that cow and buckle and kiss the ring. Almost never, actually, is it the elites that push back and win the day. Almost never. It's almost always the most vulnerable, the everyday folks who rise up, who show courage, who have the most to lose, that step up and say, you know what, not on my watch. And that's what's happening. It's no different now. And so we're not going to, I think, we're not going to be able to count on a lot of the folks in Congress on the other side of the aisle because they have given in to Donald Trump.
I'm glad you brought that up, Congressman, because this is something that's really jumping out at me. This slow rise, you're kind of hitting on it. When you look at these special elections, all these elections that have taken place in the last year, and the swing of districts that Trump won, areas that Trump won, we're talking, significant swings. Statisticians would look at this and be like, oh my gosh, 34 points, 17 points, 18 points. Why do you think that this is happening at such a large level? And when I mean large, I'm talking Texas. I'm talking areas that we never could have. Are people just that ticked off, or are people that more disillusioned? Is it a little bit of both? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think it's so extreme, right? What Donald Trump and his administration are doing is so extreme and going to the core of people's everyday lives that folks have been taken back by it. I've been taken back by the speed, right? The things they're doing, they actually said that they were going to do, right? This isn't Project 2025. Like, no one thing has necessarily surprised me, but I have been surprised by the sheer speed of it, the chaos and the destruction that they are willing to wreak on everyday lives, on our economy, on small businesses, is really astonishing to me. And people are waking up really fast here, right? People in rural areas and red areas, things that I haven't seen happen before. Listen, there are two cities in my district that have never been controlled by Democrats that now have Democratic councils, right? And there are communities like that all across the country, as you point out, Bobby.
Do you think Minnesota was a tipping point? Or is it just more gradual, or people really were like, what is going on when they saw Minnesota? That's kind of how I viewed it, but maybe I'm wrong.
I wouldn't say, I'm not sure tipping point, because I've been through, the pandemic, the insurrection. Let's not forget that the president of the United States literally inspired and ginned up an insurrection that brutally beat police officers and tried to derail our democracies. And people said that was a tipping point too. So what I think it was is a watershed moment, a pivot point maybe is the better way to describe it, where folks are realizing that this is, many folks who have voted for Donald Trump are realizing that, wait a minute, this has gone too far. We have federal agents murdering innocent civilians on our streets, masked agents brutalizing women and children, people being snatched off the streets just because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time and denied due process and court hearings. Like stuff that literally happened that sparked the colonists to rebel against the crown. Right? Habeas, let's not forget that habeas corpus and the right to have a hearing in front of a judge is one of the reasons why we became a country, right? Like we were started because of that, right? As a nation, and now it's happening. So there's libertarians, there's independents, there's non-Trump Republicans, and there's even some folks in the MAGA movement who are like, wait a minute, right? Like I kind of gave this guy a chance, but this is not what I'm going to do.
Along those lines, you Army veteran, you understand military operations. I'm in the Navy, was in the Navy. I understand naval. We all understand military operations.
Yeah.
ICE, correct? I don't. I'm trying to understand what their role and responsibility is for America, because they are running all over the place, doing all of these things that, typically speaking, local law enforcement was supposed to do, or peacekeepers in foreign countries are supposed to do. They're not trained. It's not in their mission set. What are we to make of this? Is ICE now a paramilitary force that's just being deployed by the president? I mean, what am I supposed to say here?
Yeah, so I mean, you're right about this, Bobby. You know, I'm sure you bristle just like I do when you see these guys in masks dressed like, you know, I dressed as a ranger in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know what I call it? I call it commando cosplay, right? You get these young kids, many of them whom, let's be honest, many of whom probably couldn't even have gotten into the military, who are dressed up like Rambo, and they're running around intimidating and threatening, you know, old men and women, kids, right? And they're dressed in commando cosplay. It's disgusting. Let's just be honest. Like it is a travesty that they're running around trying to threaten and intimidate people. And it's not law enforcement. Like, ask any career law enforcement agent about the key to law enforcement, and it's about trust. Like, you want to establish trust in communities so people will actually invite you into their block parties, give you a call, give you information that's necessary to go after criminals. There's nothing about this that's inspiring trust and developing relationships with the community. In fact, it's the opposite, which is actually what Donald Trump designed this organization to be. Not a law enforcement agency, but an arm of his administration and Stephen Miller to threaten and intimidate and try to dominate communities. That's what they created.
What do you think the end goal is? Stephen Miller, you know, is like this gremlin in the background, picks and chooses when he comes out. But what is the end state that they want? Is it just complete obedience? Is it because they've gone after the First Amendment and remarkably, shockingly gone after the Second Amendment, which I think also opened a lot of people's eyes. In their minds, what do they believe is the ideal America? Because I still don't understand what it's supposed to be either.
I think it depends who you're talking about in the administration. I think if you're talking about J.D. Vance, he's an isolationist. He just wants us to retreat from the world. If you're talking about Marco Rubio, he basically wants to engage in nation building and regime change in all sorts of places around the world, which is the opposite of J.D. Vance. If you're talking about Stephen Miller, he's a white nationalist, right? So it's anybody who isn't a white Christian needs to leave the country, in his view, and doesn't belong here. And if it's Donald Trump, it's just about power and domination, right? He just wants full power and to dominate his opponents and to get rid of all dissent. Right, so you talk about ICE as this rogue runaway agency, and I think Stephen Miller is using it for his white nationalist vision. Then you have Donald Trump, who simply just wants to dominate blue cities and blue states, right? So I think they have different motivations, but the end is the same. And you have a rogue agency that has been corrupted, that's running around killing Americans.
Yeah, I've told people I don't think it's a stretch to compare them to the Gestapo in Germany. And to be honest, I'd love to know how many Proud Boys or anybody related to those groups are in ICE now, since the background checks have been documented to be a sham. Let me.
And insurrectionists too, Bobby. I bet.
Yes.
I bet you all these January 6th insurrection. I bet there's a whole bunch of them running around in ICE outfits now and CBP.
Which is insanity when you
and they can't even pass. They can't even pass their tests. You know, their fitness tests, the background tests. I was watching the Super Bowl, Bobby, and I was watching all these CBP ads, and I was getting so pissed off about these ads. I looked up the fitness standards for the Customs and Border Protection, and you're an athlete, right? And I was an athlete. We're military people. It's 12 push-ups in a minute. 20 sit-ups in a minute. I mean, and there are people that can't pass that. I mean, what the hell?
Wow. Are you serious? Come on, sir.
I'm serious. Yeah. And then there's something called the 12-step test where you like walk for 5 minutes. They got rid of the mile run apparently because people couldn't pass that. So now they have this thing that's the 12-inch step test, which appears to me to literally be walking for 5 minutes is the test.
So these razor sharp athletes are as sharp as a bowling ball, and it, what, 42 days of training, I want to say. Could you imagine one of those dudes trying to go through Ranger qualification? I mean,
would not happen. It would not happen.
Just my outside observation. Let me pivot real quick, sir, while I got you. The emoluments clause of the Constitution, is it effectively dead? Because the reports from the New York Times, everybody, the Trump administration is making a ton of money. We saw the Melania thing that just happened this week. But we're talking about billions now of money related to being in the office of the presidency. Is Congress even caring about this?
Well, Democrats in Congress care about it. I care about it. It's still in the Constitution. It's still law. The problem is we have to find out all that's happening, right? We know about a ton of corruption. There's a ton of stuff that's happening we don't know about, right? We're going to be spending years unraveling the layers of corruption for what has become the most corrupt administration in the history of America, that has completely turned our government into a piggy bank for Donald Trump and his family and his billionaire donors, right? So here's what I'm doing. I'm taking names, right? The law is the law. If you're going to violate the law, either if you're going to murder American citizens and innocent civilians, if you're going to deport people without hearings, if you're going to, cash in on your position and violate the emoluments clause or just rank corruption, eventually there needs to be accountability. I think this is an important message to send, that we will not forget. We will not forget.
Agree with you.
We're taking names, and eventually there'll be accountability.
Which leads to the last point. I'm going to get you out of here on this, sir. The Epstein files and the DOJ lack of compliance with the law that you and Congress bipartisanly passed.
Yeah.
People are starting to take a look at these files unredacted, Congress behind closed doors. What is your initial feeling and gut feeling towards what y'all are seeing?
Yeah, I think this is probably the greatest sex abuse scandal in American history, the worst. And it goes to the very top of business, of politics, of government. And that's why we've been pushing for accountability. These victims, these women, have been denied justice for far too long, and they demand justice and they demand accountability. And I will not stop pushing for it, because it is grotesque, it is sick, it is horrifying. The more and more that comes out, America is seeing that. There needs to be accountability, and I will pursue it relentlessly.
Congressman Crow, I can't thank you enough. You took an oath years ago, and as we said, VFRL, it didn't have an expiration date, and you're continuing to honor that oath, and we really appreciate it. If there's anything we can do to help you in your cause moving forward, we appreciate it, and we will do it. But keep fighting, sir, because Lord knows accountability needs to come somewhere, somehow.
Bobby, thanks for being a voice of the resistance, and go Army, beat Navy.
Oh, no, hell no. No, sir. No, sir.
I had to, man. I had to.
I was trying to be nice. But no.
All right. Shot across the bow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Have a good one, Congressman. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Bobby.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So that's what it looks like to see leaders actually trying to do their job and living up to their oath. Want to bring Sam back in here now, and just get his thoughts on the interview. What did you think, Sam?
Bobby, it was a great interview. I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. What's your takeaway?
I take the thing that I'm most giddy about, to be honest with you, is Congressman Crow's like, we're keeping a list. We're not going to just allow this slide. Eventually the bill will come due, right? Yeah. And I think President Trump knows that. He's told the House Republicans that to their face. If we lose the House, I will be impeached. Why? Because he knows the ledger that they're keeping. And if this was any other president, forget Democrat, Republican, hell, forget Federalist or Whig. If it was any other president, they'd be gone. They'd be gone. Just on the emoluments clause alone, they would be gone. So the question that I have for America is very simple. Are we having a completely different set of rules for this man right? While you can't afford health care, while you can't get groceries, while you literally don't know if you walk down the street, will a bunch of people unmarked out of a vehicle come out with their faces masked asking to see your proof of citizenship? Is that the standard? That's all I want to know.
That's it. And look, the illegality of this administration is astronomical. It's mind-blowing, right? And it's going to take people like Representative Crow, but not just our representatives. It's going to take all of us to undergo a sweep to find accountability, which is how you started this show, right? Accountability. Americans have to be accountable. All of us, each one of us have to be accountable for making this place better.
If we do not, and it's so ironic because I can take GOP quotes of the past talking about law and order and how important it is to execute law and order.
Personal accountability, they said.
Yes. And how you have to have it to hold the country together. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What are we talking about? If you are not going to hold that line when you are in power, none of it matters. None of it. You want the Democrats to do it. Okay, I agree with you. If this was Barack Obama doing this stuff, I'd be like, get his butt out.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, I mean that with every fiber of my being. But hey, it just happens to be Donald John Trump, right? Because this whole thing's supposed to be bigger than each one of us, Sam. We're custodians of this system. And the founding fathers, as brilliant as they were, as flawed as they were, said, hey, y'all have to make it better. They actually wrote, we are not where we're supposed to be when we founded this country. They knew it. And they were looking at us.
More perfect.
To make a more perfect union.
More perfect.
And we are going completely ass backwards the other way. Completely.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, this country can be an amazing place. It really can be. But it's going to take all of us to admit where we were wrong, admit our biases, right?
Yes.
And also start living up to the ideal that when each of us does better, all of us do better. Right? That's how this works.
And Sam, that leads to my last and final point, and then I'll get out y'all's hair for the week. The Super Bowl performance of Bad Bunny. I'm old enough to remember those members in MAGA who talked about the snowflake complex of the left. You liberals complain about everything. Man, if those were snowflakes back then we are in a blizzard now. Because people had to sit and watch. Let me just make sure I qualify this. The most popular artist in the world by any metric you use speak in Spanish for 15 minutes and be the most viewed halftime performer in Super Bowl history because he did it in Spanish. I watched Megyn Kelly just melt. It was like, really? And it was nothing but a beautiful cinematic portrayal of a group of Americans. Let me say this very clear. Americans. Yes, people want to focus on the illegals, but there have been Americans that have been picked up, rounded up, and damn near deported because they look and sound the way they do. And for these clowns to not realize that Puerto Rico is part of America, and that everybody's been a citizen there since 1917 is the most MAGA thing ever.
Yes.
It was a beautiful, in my humble opinion, as someone who at one point spoke Spanish pretty decently, a beautiful show with great hits. Trust me, my daughter was singing every word of every lyric, it seemed like. And the entire world turned out to watch, apparently. See a part of America, which is awesome. And these people who had a problem with it, with their TP USA halftime thing, which looked so terrible in comparison, are still complaining about it. I just think it's asinine.
It's so dumb, Bob. It's so dumb. And like, look, here's the thing. If I don't know, if the NFL had said, hey, Kid Rock, we want you to do the halftime show, I would have said, oh, that's a terrible choice.
Yep.
I wouldn't have said Kid Rock should be deported, or Kid Rock isn't an American, or he doesn't deserve this spotlight, or I mean, kind of he doesn't deserve the spotlight, but that's beside the point, right? I'm not boycotting because it's not doing anything to me to have to listen to his music, except making me feel a little nauseous, right? That's it. Like any boycott that we do against corporations who have bent the knee to Trump, those corporations are destroying our democracy, right? That's something that we should really be up in arms about. Somebody performing, it doesn't do fuck all.
And the last piece I'll say on this is, these are the same people who talk about how great capitalism is. Well, the NFL was like, halftime, we're trying to expand the NFL to become a global brand. Who's the largest, biggest music star in the world right now? Oh, this Bad Bunny guy. Oh, he's also American. Oh, we're literally going to be having games in Latin America next year. Makes sense to have him at halftime. And I heard Megyn Kelly's like, it's a big fat middle finger to middle America. Well, here's the thing about middle America. There are more on the coast than there are in middle America. And there's sure as hell more people in Central America, Latin America, and freaking other America.
I'm trying to figure out, what do you think she really meant by middle America? You know what I mean? Was that some kind of code, do you think? I don't know.
Listen, I'm not going to assume to know anything that goes on between the ears of Megyn Kelly. And I say that in jest because not much happens there. But what does happen there, I'll let her go ahead and say. The reality is this: it's the most watched halftime Super Bowl performance of all time. It beat Kendrick Lamar's last year, which prior to that was the number one. And prior to that, it was Michael freaking Jackson. So we can have this conversation any way you want to.
However you want.
Do it. The NFL was like, we wanted mass exposure. We got mass exposure. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. And if you don't like it, guess what? You had Kid Rock badly lip syncing and I don't know, classical music, this and other. The thing that really jumped out at me is someone raised the point because of the language thing. When Pavarotti sings, when he sung, no one had an issue with him singing in Italian in America.
Right.
But when you actually have an American singing a language he grew up speaking in a territory that, oh, by the way, you won in conquest.
Yeah. That
we have a problem.
We have had as part of America longer than we've had like the last 5 states that we're at.
Exactly. So those people who live in that Midwest or the West that talk about this, well, Puerto Rico's been part of America longer than Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, not Arizona, but Alaska, Hawaii, the last 5 states. Something like that. They were territories. So I mean, it is what it is. People, they can. When you are bad at governing, all you have left are the culture wars, and now you're getting your butts kicked in the culture wars.
Yep.
So it is what it is. But I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Sam, any final words?
I mean, what a week. I'm just like reeling about what we're going to talk about next week. Who knows? Well, like when is this? And I have to get to another interview. I'm talking to somebody about Trump's crypto schemes, which is a whole other thing.
I got to tell you, I will definitely tune in on that because it's just blatant. The one thing about doing stuff like, podcasts and stuff like this today, it's sort of like being a screenwriter for Saturday Night Live. You really don't have to work anymore. You just have to wait, observe, and regurgitate.
Yeah,
because it's comedic what we're watching. It's comedic.
It is.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's all we got for this week. I want to thank everybody. I want to personally thank Congressman Crow for coming on and running between House votes to talk to us. And we'll continue to bring you subject matter experts of people who are telling and seeing what's actually happening to the country and the world.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, guys.